Well, it took a few days to make this part, and the reason why is I kept deleting the old versions I came out with, the old videos, and I was really thinking about how much do I really want to talk about the Ptolemies, how much do I want to talk about Cleopatra, and the fact that I personally don't, a lot of people say that she was black. I don't exactly agree with that. Okay, I don't know for sure, but I lean towards she was definitely a white person with white genes. It comes down from the Macedonian bloodline. But needless to say, I say we go into where we left off, which was, I believe, Ptolemy the Fifth. Okay, he was the one given the Rosetta Stone, and then we go to Ptolemy the Sixth, who is so corrupt he fights a civil war. Ptolemy the Seventh, 1 year after being king, he's killed. Ptolemy the Eighth is nicknamed Fatty. He has two wives, and he marries the wife of Ptolemy the Sixth, and one of his wives dismembers his child and sends it back to him, and he erects a temple of Sobek, the crocodile god. Ptolemy the Ninth, he flees to Cyprus and is accused of plotting to kill his own mother. Ptolemy the 10th is so fat he can't even walk on his own. Ptolemy the 11th marries his older aunt, and he marries his older aunt and he gets killed and lynched after 19 days of being king. And then Ptolemy the 12th is illegitimate bastard, because this, like a power vacuum after Ptolemy the 11th is killed. This creates a power vacuum in Egypt, and they start figuring out what we got to do. And Ptolemy the 12th, he bribes his way into power, basically. And he's illegitimate, and they call him the flute player, and they call him Lettuce. So, for some reason, this cute little nickname stuck to him. Now, remember now, the Egyptians were pretty much a weak group. They deploy. I mean, not the Egyptians. The Greek rulers. They depended on the Romans soldiers to hold down the Egyptians and to keep them from rebelling. And they were not wanted. They're very corrupt people. These people are not very happy. We're getting very late into the foreign period. We are getting into, the end of really foreign rule in Egypt. And as far as before Christ, okay? Soon the Romans are going to take over, and what you're going to have is Cleopatra marrying one of the Romans at one point, okay? So Bernanke is going to seize the throne, right? And he is going to, when Ptolemy is kicked out, he's going to come back and he's going to execute Bernanke, okay? ISIS worship is going to start being on the rise. And so when Cleopatra is, start rising in power, she's called the living embodiment of ISIS, and she's worshipped as that, as ISIS on earth. Very occult thing, okay? So Isis, remember, is the mother goddess, and she married Osiris, and she had his kid, Horus, after Osiris died. She put them back together, and she had his kid. So Horus is born miraculously. Now Cleopatra is the last true Ptolemy ruler. Always get the Ptoleme, so I always say, sometimes I think to say Ptolemy because I'm thinking about how it's spelled in my head. But it's really Ptolemy. And the P is silent. But anyway, she goes south and she speaks a lot of languages, and she's a politician. And so her and her son are named co-rulers. They're ruling together, okay? And Pythias is kind of like the evil advisor to her son, who turning the people against her, and they're plotting against her a lot. And she plots to kill her at one point. So what happens is there's a civil war in Rome, and Pompey flees to Egypt, and Caesar comes to straighten it all out. But Pythias betrays him, and he cuts off Pompey's head in front of Pompey's family, thinking this is going to please Caesar. Caesar arrives, and he's furious. Okay? There's a small war, an Alexander War, and Pythias is executed. His younger brother drowns. Cleopatra's younger brother drowns trying to escape. And she marries, she marries the youngest brother, Ptolemy the 14th. Okay, so Cleopatra gets married. Ptolemy the 14th, the youngest brother, disappears. So basically, so while Caesar's there, she takes him on a tour, and Caesar goes back to Rome and calls for her. And so we start seeing Cleopatra. One of the reasons I pause to think is like, how much do I really want to go into the scandalous stuff that Cleopatra did that I don't approve of? And I don't think she was a great ruler. I don't think she was a smart ruler. I think she was a slut and a traitor, and not somebody to really be worshipped, somebody to look up to. So, a lot of you women watching this video, a lot of you black women, don't be like, oh, Cleopatra was such a good, smart lady. And, it's very unlikely that she was black in the first place, and secondly, she was a complete slut. And she has sex and marries a lot of different people, and it's really not pretty, okay? So, Caesar builds a temple where Cleopatra is portrayed as Isis, and this is what eventually gets him famously stabbed on the Senate steps, okay? And so at this point, Cleopatra has to flee, obviously, because the senators are outraged that that Caesar wants to declare himself a god, and Cleopatra is obviously pushing for that kind of occult mentality. The secret society surrounding this whole thing, big time. The secret society cults are saying, look, they're pushing her, and she is pushing Caesar to declare himself a god and create a new world. They're talking a lot about this new world order ideology during this period. She's just a complete slut, and but we got to eventually talk about her because she does fit into this occult type of ideas and part of the spread. And this is where you see a lot of portrayals in Rome, and the fact that they're starting to build Egyptian god statues in Rome even more, even though their gods are originally based on the Greek gods, which are based on the Egyptian gods in the first place. But we start seeing the Egyptian gods being openly built as Egyptian gods in Rome, and this obviously makes them mad. They like their white interpretation of the pagan gods. They don't like the direct interpretation from Egypt itself. So anyway, we have what happens is these Roman emperors are all constantly kissing Egypt's butt for wheat, and let's see, eventually they have these little wars, and a lot of the stuff like Temple in New York in Denver is given to us for our effort in saving Nubian temples. That's part of how we know a lot of this information. At one point, Cleopatra, when Octavian marches on Egypt, she fakes her death, because what happens is Mark Antony, after Caesar's killed, Mark Antony raises an army. He tries to fight Octavian, and he tries to use sea vessels, and he fails. He should have just attacked on land, but he listens to Cleopatra. He fails. She flees in her nice ship, and he is so mad at the world that he eventually kills himself. And Octavian comes to attack him again back in Egypt, and Cleopatra, has her servant sneak in a snake and gets killed. Okay, that's basically her story. So, I know I jumped around a little bit for a second, but basically, that's how it went down. And a good movie to watch is fairly factual about it. I believe it's called Cleopatra. It's made, I believe, in 1963. I'm not sure, but I believe they have that on YouTube as well. And it's a long movie though. I think it was about 4 hours, but it gives a good image of what happened. Of course, it has a lot of movie stuff thrown in there and stuff. Anyway, Revelations. I want to end this part by saying Revelations 21:27. Nothing impure will ever enter it, nor will anyone who does what is harmful, shameful, or deceitful, but only those whose name is written in the book of life, in the Lamb's book of life. I believe that's the exact quote. It's Revelations 21:27. Nothing impure will ever enter it, nor will anyone who does what is shameful or deceitful, but only those whose names are written in the Lamb's book of life. Now, obviously, they're referring to the Egyptian book of life.